I just want to talk about BTS Spark because I know some of you. I looked at the registration list and I saw some new names. So I just want to talk about BTS Spark, and we'll kind of arrive at the AI conversation soon. But BTS Spark, I'm really pleased to be a director of BTS Spark Australia, along with Max, who's the head of BTS Spark Canada, Denise, who's also on the call, who's head of BTS Spark in the UK. We're a global practice, and our mission is to provide schools with access to world-class leadership coaching at not-for-profit prices. Our purpose is to help every school leader feel confident, resourceful, and fully capable, and our vision is for all students and teachers to benefit from empowered, supportive school leadership. We are a not-for-profit practice. We're part of a larger company called BTS. They're based out of Sweden and support the corporate workforce. We are their not-for-profit practice, and we support education leaders. And we do that by coaching workshops and increasingly with digital learning and AI-enabled learning. We have a really strong focus on coaching though. So that's an interesting space for us to be in, to be going into the AI space. We've got over 300 coaches worldwide and have actually met with and coached and helped the professional learning of over 25,000 education leaders since we started. I'm quite new to the practice, so it kind of feels a little gratuitous for me to say we have supported 25,000, but I know a lot of the BTS crew has been on board for about a decade, and so they can say that a little more confidently than me. And as it says that over 99% of participants in our programs improve their leadership. And these are the kinds of people and systems that we work with. So you might see some familiar logos here, you may not. But as you can see, we're working all over the Anglosphere and hopefully beyond in the years to come. BTS, our parent company, win a lot of awards for their leadership development programs. And we can now say that BTS Spark specifically are award winners as well. So this year we're celebrating being awarded the Best School Leader Coaching and Leadership Development Consultancy 2025 from Corporate Vision Education and Training Awards. That is the culmination of a lot of very hard work from the BTS crew. And again, having only started at the start of 2025, I feel bad to gloat about it, but I'm really proud to be part of such a great team. And this is why we support schools and school systems with four big issues. So coaching and mentoring skills, so training mentors, improving feedback, difficult conversations, and accreditation for coaches as well. Leadership development is a massive area for us. So principal coaching and educational leader coaching more generally. So that's from aspiring all the way up to superintendency or directorship. We look at the human side of leadership, building leadership pipelines, diversity and fast tracking talent. And we also have a particular focus on rural and remote schools. The nature of our work means that we can reach rural and remote schools quite easily through one-on-one coaching, especially in the digital age. We used to do it by phone before it was cool to do remote learning. And now we do it via channels like this one. We look at wellbeing support as well, and system change. So school transformation and empowering groups and networks of schools as well. Now, looking at all of those four issues, AI actually, we're finding has touched all of them. And I don't think that's unique to education. I think we can safely say we're now living very much in the age of AI. There's no doubt about it. It can be quite confronting to think about at times. So I wanted to start with a breakout room where we're going to, so this is not going to be a sit back and listen kind of webinar. We actually want you to take part in this. So I'm going to send you to some breakout rooms in a moment. How are you using AI in your day-to-day work? Think as broadly as you can, but also bring as many different examples as you can. And how does that differ from pre-2020? So I'm just going to stop the share. I've been relegated to the living room, so I've only got one share. one screen rather. So I'm going to need to now go to the breakout room feature here. I'm going to assign automatically, and given the number of people here, I'll put us into 3 rooms. And I'll give you about 5 minutes maximum to have this discussion. So hopefully everyone can have a chance to, and I'll share those questions again on the screen so everyone can see. Okay, so I'm going to be asking for some of the discussion that you've had when you come back to put into the chat. So try and remember some of the points that you and your participants talk about, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Hi, Irene. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Everyone's in breakout rooms, but within a minute they'll all be back. So just hang
Yeah,
tight.
sorry. So sorry I'm late. I'll wait here. Thank you.
That's okay. No worries. No worries. All right. Let's press close all rooms. It's always good to see when you press close breakout rooms, but people don't rush back. It must mean they're having a pretty good conversation.
Definitely, definitely.
I feel bad now.
Yeah, fear of missing out.
Oh, I'm sure. Admit. Hi, Helen. We've just got people coming back from breakout rooms, so we'll be back to regular programming in a moment. I was just saying to Irene, who joined during that breakout session, it's always great when you press end breakout rooms and not everyone rushes back. It must mean that you're having a nice conversation. Um, so I was glad to see that. Right. So again, this is not a webinar. Technically in Zoom language, it's a meeting, so you can come off your mute buttons if you'd like to say something or join in or ask questions at any time, by the way, or happy for you to use the chat function as well. I'd love to hear different examples of how people are using AI in their work. And we are leading towards professional learning, but I'd love to hear quite generally how educators and educational leaders are using AI at the moment.
Shall I kick off for our group?
Great.
So we I think all said pre-2020 nothing at all, unless there was something built in unknowingly to things that we were using, which I'm sure there was. But Brian within our group talked about how he uses it to be able to pair up coaches based on the coachees and their needs. We also talked about so like people matching in that respect. We talked about program descriptors and using AI to design a program descriptor, but also as a note taker in meetings. I talked about that we've bought in an AI tool that allows us to feed in our strategy documents and our policies, etc., as a whole, and then middle managers and leaders can feed in their data for their departments, and it can give them a bit of a quality tool. So help with key performance indicators and particular areas for improvement, pick those things out. But we also talked about the fact that there's a massive need for a critical eye because it's not really there yet in terms of being spot on with its analysis.
Incredible. Like you sometimes just need to stop and think about, hang on, a lot has changed quite quickly, hasn't it? Those are really rich examples. I appreciate that, Judith. Thanks. What about there were two other groups.
I'll just jump in, Josh, and just say
Sure.
that some really interesting and diverse uses now. We had one of our members, Ivan, using it for travel and discounts and rewriting letters, smoothing them out. But I heard from two of the group using it as a thought partner. And more specifically, Kim, I don't know if you want to expand on this, but you use it to prepare for challenging conversations in your work, even role playing yourself vis-a-vis some of the issues that you need to tackle, and also testing for your tone in terms of getting messages across and saying it the right way. I found that really a sophisticated use, and thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. I find that it can help us kind of detect our blind spots as we prepare for challenging conversations to better understand a likely perspective of the other side of the conversation.
That's an incredible use, Kim, and we're going to look at something very similar to that today. So I'd love to hear your thoughts once you've seen some of these tools in action, to see how that compares to what you've been doing. That's amazing. Thank you. There was one other group, but if we're a bit tentative tonight, that's okay, or today. Sorry, it's tonight for me. But did anyone else want to share?
I can share quickly, Josh. I
Yep.
think, again, there was like a range of usages. I guess most of them were around different forms of communication. So communications with parents, letters, blogs, as people have said, to help, just speed up that process and smooth out the language. Chris also talked, I think, about using them for teacher evaluations, or perhaps that was Shelley, sorry, speeding up that process. Deep talked about data analysis as well. So yeah, a range of very time-saving applications.
Yeah, and I just feel like the way we work now versus pre-2020, it's only been 5 years, but so much has happened and so much has changed. And yeah, in some ways there's no going back there, but there are some things that we probably want to keep holding on to as we go into this new era. And I think we've addressed that question as well. So what I want to now talk about is I want to get to how BTS Spark are incorporating AI into our professional learning. But before I get to there, I need to go back to one of our main focus areas, which is coaching. So I'm going to talk about coaching, and then we're going to get to blended and AI-enabled learning in a moment. But one thing about BTS Spark that really compelled me to join was the fact that BTS Spark has such a focus on quality coaching. With respect to everyone who calls themselves a coach, it's difficult to become an accredited professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. That is a benchmark and a prerequisite for all of our coaches. So that goes to show the focus that we've got on that kind of quality. It means that they've had to coach hundreds of leaders over 10 plus years. Their average tenure with us is over 8 years. It means they've done more than 100 hours of coach training, over 50 hours of accreditation, and every year they have to do 40 hours of annual learning just to keep that accreditation going. They're supervised for every 35 hours of their coaching, and they're trained in different diagnostic and assessment tools. So we take coaching really seriously. So it's perhaps surprising to hear that we're also really focused on developing our AI-enabled learning capability. But from that coaching focus, we've been able to analyze data from over 150,000 coaching conversations. So that's not just BTS Spark, that's also BTS more broadly. You'll remember that 25,000 number, that's the BTS Spark number, but if you include BTS, we've analyzed all of that data to uncover mindset shifts that are fundamental to changing leadership practice. We've published some of these findings in the book, The 4 Greatest Coaching Conversations, but more specifically for the education sector, we've also written a book called Embracing Messy Leadership. So that was authored by Alyssa Gallagher, who's the head of BTS Spark USA West, who can't join us tonight, but will be joining us on a video that we're going to look at very soon, much to her surprise, perhaps, and Rosie Connor, who's the global director of BTS Spark as well. So we take all of that evidence and research and distill that into leadership, into simple, memorable, practical tools that leaders can use to improve their leadership practice. And those tools are embedded within these 33 leadership modules. So this is the core of what we do with our leadership development. And we do that in a number of ways. So we've talked about the one-on-one coaching. We also do group coaching. So these are small group sessions facilitated again by a certified coach of up to 6 people. We then do facilitated workshops. So each of those modules that we just saw there has a half-day workshop sitting behind those. And so they can be then remixed into, 2 hexagons equals a full day workshop, or 4 of them equals 2 full days, which we can structure as like a residential, which we often do with school networks. We then have online learning for those modules. Continued practice comes from all of those modalities. And what we're starting to do is build all of these different modalities into learning journeys, and AI-enabled learning is becoming a very key part of that. And so, oops, so I had a little delay on my computer here. I'm back. And here we are. Before we continue any further, I wanted to play you this video here, but I think I'm just going to have to stop my share and then start again because I can't see it. It's from our CEO, Jessica Scon. So she's the CEO of BTS. And I only saw this really recently, and I thought I have to include this in the webinar. So I'm going to share sound. I'm going to come over to this video because what she's saying is exactly what we're finding, which I guess is no surprise. I can see the link there, but for some reason it's invisible. And I might just jump out of this slide show. So this is a really bad experience for you. I will go back in, not in slide view. Try again. There we go. Sorry, can I just check? Can you see this video now? Excellent.
Yeah, we can see it.
Brilliant. So I'm going to fast forward to the right spot, and then we're going to listen to Jess for 2 minutes here.
Speed and in the flow of work, constant practice, preparation, and assessment is, I'm going to call it IRL plus, in real life plus. I heard the CEO of the holding company of all the dating apps. Imagine the ones you know. I'm not even going to list them because they all mean something, and I'm not going to realize what I'm saying. But he runs all the dating apps. They've acquired and brought them all together. And he was saying that IRL is back, that when people want to date, they don't want to do a first virtual Zoom call to meet each other, however you do it. They actually want to go on a date, and they don't want to do it alone. They want to go on a double date. So they are rethinking their offering to allow IRL, in real life first dates. We are saying the same thing from our chief learning officers, that in real life, meaning top 100 meetings, top 500 meetings, top 2,000 meetings, sales kickoffs, top 50 meetings are back. Why are they back? Because the chief learning officers see their role as strengthening the culture of the company. And people really, really need and want to be together. The reason why I'm calling it IRL plus is because what we're doing is we're putting the AI tech into the offsites. And when you do that and you get people to practice the latest prompts, GPTs, bots, whatever it is, it's driving super fast and hyper adoption the day after, the days after, the weeks after, in the flow of work. So I think I was talking to Claude from Brandon Hall, and he said what's interesting is that when in real life or workshops or offsites in the past were popular, you saw a decrease in tech being used. And I'm like, no, not right now. Right now, they're all coming together in one. And when you have that captive audience that's practicing the strategy or the most important priorities of the firm, and they're doing it with the latest AI platforms and tools, then we're seeing the adoption skyrocket afterwards. Agentic simulations in the flow of work.
So just going back to that last slide, and I'll jump back into slide view in a moment when I'm confident that it's going to work after the next video. These particular modalities all work together, all work individually really well, but we're seeing them come together, especially with AI-enabled learning being a part of that. So I want to show you an example of that. And rather than demo it, I'm going to get Alyssa Gallagher, the co-author of Embracing Messy Leadership, to show you. I'll just briefly introduce one of these courses that has AI enabled therein. So it's called Speak Like a Leader. It's a self-paced learning journey at the moment, and I'll get to why I say at the moment a little bit later, with an embedded AI coach to provide feedback. So it covers all the things that you would want in terms of improving your presentation skills, improving your preparation for a presentation, for a discussion, for a conversation. And it's broken down into these different modules. And each of those modules has part of this AI tool embedded within it. So rather than stopping my share and going to the LMS to look at it, here's an example. So in the resources section of this course, you launch the AI video assessment tool. You're met with this practice lab. And there are these 4 different options. There's AI role play, where you can run through an interactive role play with a human-like AI. There's video Q&A, so practicing preset video Q&A questions. Practice mirror, which we're going to see a demo of in a moment, and also analyzing a video. So when we look at this demonstration by Alyssa Gallagher of the practice mirror, I also want you to consider the fact that the feedback that she gets from the AI tool can also be given to videos that already exist. So this might be something that you're already doing, recording video for a particular purpose, for analysis, for evaluation, or you might just have a library of them that you could use. So that's an option as well. But without talking about it any further, the best way is to just see how it works. So I'm going to show you that right now, and hopefully we don't have an issue with the video this time. Whoops.
Hi, Alyssa here from BTS Spark. Welcome to Virtual Sapiens, your AI tool. Now, this tool is actually embedded in the Speak Like a Leader course. So anyone who enrolls in our Speak Like a Leader course has access to the 8 modules in Speak Like a Leader, but also has access to Virtual Sapiens for a year. What I want to do is give you a quick orientation to the different types of tools that exist within our AI practice tool. So up here in the left-hand corner, you can see simulated conversation. Now, this is actually going to be a question between you and an AI bot. They're going to throw questions your way, and you're going to engage in a conversation. At the end of the conversation, they will give you a score and a report on how you did answering the question. So it's great practice if you're preparing for any type of Q&A or an interview. In the right-hand upper corner, you'll see that then we have role play. Role play is actually an interactive experience with the human-like AI bot where you get to put in your role. So whether you're a principal or a superintendent, you can also go ahead and suggest a scenario. So something that you're struggling with in your work, and then you'll have a conversation based on the topic that you suggest. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see an opportunity to analyze a video. Now, this is great if you already have presentations of yourself recorded. That's sort of hitting the easy button. You can go ahead and upload a video of yourself and get your public speaking analyzed. What I'm going to show you very quickly is I'm going to show you the 4th tool. Here it's called Practice Mirror, and I'm going to go ahead and select Practice Mirror. Now, this is a great tool if you want to go ahead and practice anything that you speak about publicly. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and put here, I talk a lot about BTS Spark and the work that we do. I'm going to choose not to save my video at this time. I'm going to select a camera and a microphone. So I'll go ahead and do my default laptop settings. And so I'm not overwhelming everyone with multiple videos, I'm going to close out here of this video and go ahead and get started with my practice mirror. Now in the practice mirror, I can choose whether I want to actually see myself while I'm talking. I can also choose an audience view. So they'll give you sort of a view of what an audience might look like. So it depends how you want to practice. And then I can also select, am I practicing this for a virtual audience or an in-person audience? Now, because I'm actually doing this for virtual, I'm going to select that. And I'm going to go ahead and start my practice. So you'll notice it does take a minute to load the tool. It's not recording yet, but it will go ahead and record now. Hi, my name is Alyssa Gallagher. I co-lead BTS Spark America. And BTS Spark, we're a not-for-profit organization. We focus on growing and developing school leaders. Really everyone from sort of very beginning, emerging, aspiring leaders all the way through the superintendency. And what we do is we specifically focus on developing leadership skills in leaders. We like to focus on what we call the human side of leadership development. And typically we do this, we have a variety of ways, but typically we support leaders through executive coaching, either one-on-one or small group coaching. Now, we also provide a lot of webinars, we provide in-person workshops, but really all focused on capacity building and developing skills of leaders. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end my practice and we'll see how I did. Now that was totally off the cuff. I wasn't using any notes, and I can see here that my results are in. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on results. And as it's loading, there's a couple of different ways to analyze your results here. So you can see audience perception, and I can see, first impression, framing, perceived trustworthiness and rapport, authority and impression, and expression and energy. So in any one of these, I can scroll down and get very detailed feedback. You can see here that I didn't have enough hand gestures. So if I wanted to correct this, I could click on it and get some tools and insights. The other thing that I find extremely helpful is I can go right into my transcript analysis, and it actually transcribes everything that I said. It will go ahead and highlight for you either repetitive phrases, sentence starters, filler words. So I can see here, wow, I actually started another sentence with and I had a lot of uhs. So this is really helpful when you're working to improve your public speaking. Now, another way you can analyze this is I can select a category. So I could select, do I want feedback on conciseness, storytelling, empathy, levity, or persuasiveness? Always kind of interesting. I'm guessing that I'm not the best. Let's click levity here. I'm guessing I'm not the best in adding levity to my speaking, but let's take a look. So you can play around with this, and they're giving me, what went well, but also areas that I need to improve, that if I was looking for that, I didn't have playful language, and some ideas to consider, and perhaps some suggested rewrites. So you can imagine if you were, you are gearing up for an important presentation to your board or your parent community, this is a great place to practice your speech and get immediate private feedback.
So rather than going to breakout rooms, maybe we can just stay here. What ideas does this spark for you about AI's role in professional learning? Seeing something as, I guess, detailed as that, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts about what that's sparking in terms of ideas. I know, Kim, this is probably very similar to the kind of thing that you want from something like ChatGPT or Google Gemini or whichever tool that you're using. But it might also bring up some aspects about professional learning that should never or will never perhaps be replaced by AI. So I'd love to open to the floor, get your initial thoughts on what we've just seen and some of these questions here as well. I'm going to hold my nerve here. I know someone's got something to say.
Well, a couple of first of all, that was just so fun to watch. Thank you for sharing that. I think as a tool for professional learning, it's fascinating how it hits on a couple of things. One, it's particularly personalized, and she used the word private in her own reflection around it, and I thought that was really compelling, that there's a space to practice in private in a personalized way to increase growth, which will eventually be for a public performance. And so it has me thinking on how in leadership there is sort of this private growth opportunity for public performance. And spaces for vulnerability can be hard to create in professional learning. And so having this model is really cool and very human, actually, to support folks.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I'd love to hear what people think about this, actually, because I've been starting to say this at conferences and to clients, and no one's really challenged me on it. So it could just be true, but I'm going to put it out there that I think what AI has given us in this particular example, and it doesn't just have to be that Speak Like a Leader course, there are other tools that are similar to this, that it's created a private space for conversational practice that didn't otherwise exist. It may have existed in your bathroom when you're talking to your mirror, but the mirror doesn't talk back. It could exist as a way, like you record yourself doing something and then you watch it back. You could do it with a coach, but there are limits to how many times you can do it and how much depth that the coach will go into, just because time is a factor, and also cost. So I feel like this has created a new space in professional learning. Now, I say that and people kind of just nod along and don't challenge me. Am I wrong, or is that true? Or is it somewhere in between?
I agree. And one of the points I was going to make was that the feedback you get is objective. Like sometimes if you ask a colleague or a spouse or somebody, okay, this is what I'm working on, it's hard for them to necessarily give an objective. So this is really totally objective. And I think what's nice is you get it and it's right away, and then you can decide how you're going to adapt it or go where you're going to go from there.
Yeah, and especially if your wife, in my case, probably can't be bothered giving you the feedback that you really need, and just says, "Yeah, you were great." Can you be quiet now?
I was going to say that, because I think quite often you ask a colleague or a spouse or whoever for feedback, and they might not fully understand what you're trying to do in the first place, so can't actually give you really credible feedback. And also, genuinely, most people in an organization, unless you've pulled together a real meeting where people have the time to give you, if you just ask somebody, what do you think about this? I'm working on this. You don't often get a really valued and considered response. And it can also be they don't want to upset you, so they don't give you the actual valuable feedback that you really do need. Whereas AI, it's not going to be bothered. It's going to give you the full lot, positive and negative in terms of feedback.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, particularly with the negative. I mean, what we saw there was, Alyssa Gallagher is an amazing public speaker. So the fact that she was getting like 90s across the board is not normal, I have to say. I have tried and failed to get even one score in the 90s. When I first tried, I thought, I'm going to do a really bad job, and then I'm going to do a really good job, and then I can take screenshots and people can see the difference between what a bad job is and what a good job is. And so I did the first one and I got 60s, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, expected. And then I really tried, and it was like high 60s and low 70s. This was after watching Alyssa's video, and so I was a little bit confronting, but as I practiced, it was like, okay, you said 17 times, you might not want to do that. You and say, I just did it then, just again, right then. And again. So there are lots of different little things that it's going to pick up that you just won't know about because people haven't told you, they don't have the heart to tell you, no one's ever noticed, you didn't ask, there wasn't an opportunity. But Martine, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I saw you came off mute.
Yes, thank you. I agreed with the previous participants, and their points are very good. The other piece that I see very practical is the fact that obviously English is my second language. So when you're publicly speaking in a second language, the transcript of it can be really helpful to tweak your language, or like you said, the repetitive word, but also how you're trying to get your points across. So I really valued that. I thought that was quite impressive.
Yeah, it can be confronting too, to see what you've actually said, because the written word versus the spoken word is not always, you're not always going to be as eloquent in an email versus something that you've just said.
Yeah, that's right. But I had a question in terms of, we often say AI, you have to double check and triple check because they're not always right. So how does that work then? Like, how do you know that is the accurate feedback?
Yeah, and this is where I'd love to hear Kim's thoughts on how she's been using AI, because what we're looking at here is one example. And in our next webinar, we're going to show, and we're going to really deep dive into AI conversation practice bots. So what we just looked at was we spoke, or Alyssa spoke, and then we get really detailed feedback. In the next session, we're going to look at we speak, the AI talks back, and it's snappy, and you need to keep talking back, and it's based on a particular framework that you have already learned, and then you get an assessment based on that framework that you've already learned. So, but to answer your question, what we're looking at here is a product. So this is a highly customized AI product that is not just using ChatGPT with one prompt and then you get something back, and then maybe the next day you ask the same prompt and you get something completely different back. What's happening in the background is a highly regimented set of prompts that ensures that it stays on the rails and doesn't hallucinate. What we all experience in our day-to-day use with ChatGPT is, you ask it something, it gives you something back, and you have to look at that with a really critical eye. It might be good, it might be completely wildly off, and you need to know what you're after in that particular scenario in order to get the best out of it. And it might be just totally abandoning that chat and going over to another product and starting again, or it might be slightly honing it. With these products, that hallucination is not there because it's gone through so many checks and balances. So it just works, thankfully. And in the next session, it'll be great to see how that works in a more dynamic chat. But Kim, how are you using, because what you basically explained is exactly what the next product is all about. So how are you doing that? And yeah, like it'd be great for others to hear it because they might be able to replicate that.
So when I'm role playing, I use a little script that I have developed where I'm sharing a summary of the scenario and the goals that I want for the end of the conversation. So in other words, if this is preparing for a difficult conversation with an employee around their evaluation, I'm going to share that, these are the two things that I need the employee to leave the meeting knowing, that they have, that this is very clear about what the goal is, that they have agency to work on the goal within these parameters, whatever those parameters are, that I know that they are capable of making those changes, and that they leave knowing that I have the belief in them. So I set some goals for what I want as the outcomes of the meeting. And then I ask it to role play with me. But AI tends to take a position in which the customer's always right. It defaults to that if you're using a large language model, unless you tell them that I want you to really challenge me and push on the situation. So if you're getting more of a, oh, everything's lovely kind of response, and better, you always have to trust your gut. but you know better, that you can ask it to be more critical of you in this process. But what I am finding is there's a huge difference if you're using an open large language model versus a customized chatbot or a small language model like what you are referencing. And it is all about how it's trained and how it's really been perfected for a specific task. And so,
Yeah.
and that's, it protects against the hallucinations.
Speaking my language, Kim, love it. That's exactly what we're looking at here with our smaller models that are quite specific to do one thing, rather than ChatGPT, which, I mean, I'm asking ChatGPT about garden maintenance, how to respond to a difficulty, all sorts of things, how to help my 11-year-old with his English homework. Whereas, a specific use case can be highly regimented. But Kim, hats off to you for creating such a great process. Has anyone else done anything like that with the tools they have available to them? Kim, you're a pioneer. I hope you've influenced some people to perhaps take a shot at that. But what I'm about to show you as well in a few slides' time is an example of that. And I know we don't have long. So I'm just going to jump back to my slides here. And I just wanted to show you an example of how all of that stuff that we were looking at before, the coaching, the group coaching, the workshops, the online learning, the AI-enabled learning, and those go-do activities can come together. This is very much a work in progress, and I've stolen it from someone from BTS Spark Australia. So I've taken away the title and the client and all of that. But I just wanted to point out that what we just looked at as a demo, see, it's starting to make its way into the professional learning. So we've got a workshop here, we've got one-on-one coaching, then we've got a webinar. And into that webinar, we're looking to bring in that AI practice mirror. So rather than the whole Speak Like a Leader course, just that one bit, the AI practice mirror, that is relevant to this particular course before we go into that second one-on-one coaching session. So this is what I mean by, and what our CEO means by IRL plus. We're bringing the human and the AI together to create a particular learning experience that's effective for that particular cohort. I just wanted to briefly talk about our point of view on leadership and leadership development. And I guess the point that I wanted to make here was that the use of AI is really kind of coherent with these 4 pillars. So one is that leadership is grounded in everyday context, and leadership development needs to be responsive to the learner's context. 2 is leadership happens in moments, and learners need practical tools and scaffolds to make the difference in these moments. And I think what we just saw is a really good example of that. Leaders' behavior is driven by their mindset. So leaders need support to shift their mindsets, to change their practice over time. And I think that really needs a human involved, but it doesn't always need a human involved, I think is the point there. And 4, leaders are time poor, yet need personal support. So as learners, they need just enough, just in time, and just for me. I think that's where the digital space plays a big role in professional learning as well. So I've just lost my screen here. So now I just want to briefly touch on practice spots because we're nearly out of time, but we do have another webinar coming up in November. So do check your emails for that. We'll be sending information about that really soon. It'll also be on LinkedIn, but I just want to give you a taste. So this is a product that comes from BTS. And the great thing about working at BTS Spark is that we get to curate all the cool stuff that the corporates are getting, bring the best stuff into the educational leadership space, contextualize it for school leaders and educational leaders, and as we said before, offer it at not-for-profit prices. So looking at this slide, we'd obviously be looking at leadership mainly, like conversations, feedback conversations like Kim was talking about, and also some of the daily business stuff there as well. Our practice bots, we have text bots, which is really similar writing to ChatGPT. Audio, which I'll be demoing in the next webinar, which is similar to a phone call. And video, which it says it's available Q4 2025. It's actually already available. But I'm not too confident on testing that just yet because it's so new. And how we use practice bots in programs, as we said before, it's part of that IRL plus approach. It's embedding it within workshops, online training, assessments, ongoing practice. We can embed these kind of tools within what we've already got. I put this here just in case I had time for a demo, but I will use this example, this framework, in our subsequent webinar. I'll use this framework to go through it, what it means, why we use it, and then demo a discussion with a practice bot using this conversation, and then looking at how the assessment of that conversation, of my conversation, transcript and all, follows this framework as well. So did I set an agenda? Did I state the facts? Did I talk about the impact? Was I objective when I did that? All of those kinds of things. Really similar to what we looked at with Alyssa, but in a more dynamic conversation. So I just wanted to end the discussion with some reflections of my own. The BTS global team will be coming together next month and we can perhaps formalize some of these views, but I just want to make it clear that these views are my own on AI and human coaching. So I think that AI expands access, gives more leaders opportunities to practice and get feedback, not just those who can access individual human coaching. It enhances but doesn't replace. So it handles scale and repetition and probably detail as well, I should have said. But people provide insight, empathy, and accountability. AI needs human framing. So coaches help leaders interpret the feedback, translate it to context, and apply it meaningfully. I think AI can do that to a point, but not the way a human can. And also coaches need to start developing AI literacy. So like what Kim was saying, coaches need to understand how to integrate these tools rather than compete with the tools. So understanding the strength of a human coach, also understanding the strengths of an AI bot that will never get tired, always be objective, and unless there's a meltdown at the data center, will always work. And 5, human connection remains the differentiator. So having said all of that, the trust and the reflection that are built in a coaching relationship still drive lasting change, I think. Not sure we've got time for questions or discussion, but I'm happy to stick around if anyone wants to keep the discussion going. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining us today. 1 hour of your time is a lot, so I really appreciate it. Any questions, please reach out to me, Denise, Max, or anyone else in the team. And please look out for the link to the next webinar. I'd love to see you again.